Hey everybody, this is Mike Boyle. This is the Shrink Shop, 5 Alive sessions where you're going to learn practical stuff that can make your life a better place to live in 5 minutes or less. And I don't need these. So here we go. 5 minutes or less, practical things that can make your life a better place to live. And today we're going to talk about one major thing that can go wrong in therapy and an easy way to sort it out. So think about a continuum. When you're talking about stuff coming up, this is something that has been a common theme that I've been speaking with clients about lately. When stuff is coming up, it's almost like when there's a gap between our what's actually happening in our life and our reaction to it. So, say the cap's off the toothpaste, but yet we're screaming in rage about the cap off the toothpaste. Well, there's a gap there, and that gap usually has to do almost not usually, that gap always has to do with our past learning and conditioning, our past experiences. So, that's a very innocuous example, but when you have a kind of a traumatic past or a difficult past, so sometimes maybe you're fighting or arguing with your partner, and it's based on things that have happened in the past as opposed to what's actually going on in the moment. Maybe that past is from your childhood, maybe it's from previous relationships, maybe it's from earlier in your relationship. But the point is that this gap between what's actually happening in our life and how we're reacting to life is where we generate suffering. And so, well, what do we do? How do we work with that? Well, there's a continuum, and on one side of the continuum is that we're not aware of this gap at all. We're not aware of the past wounds and traumas of our lives. We're in denial, we're repressing, we're pushing them away. And then there's the other side where this is where therapy can often go wrong, where we glorify that story, we talk about that story, we think we need to gain insight about that story, we need to understand it, we need to figure it out, we need to know where it came from, we need to have these cathartic experiences where we talk about it and we cry, and but what we find there is this cathartic approach, this talking about it approach, apart from maybe being heard and really felt and heard about your experience in a way that you never have been before, that can be really, really important. But it gets to the point where we'll find that we start repeating these stories over and over again. We start telling ourselves and our friends and our therapists these stories over and over and over again, and we become identified with them, and we actually start to crystallize or harden in a neurological perspective. We actually make those neural networks stronger, and we actually exacerbate the problem, and we think we're progressing because we have a big cathartic release, but it becomes actually an addictive process where we have this big venting session, and we think of therapy as venting. But if you notice, you're not actually transcending the problem, and you have this buildup of tension and energy, and then a release of tension and energy, and that is in your life ends up kind of being like this. We build up, we release, we build up, we release, and we don't actually octave to a new level of growth where the problem is actually no longer a problem at all. Instead, we kind of keep the problem around as a way to kind of experience this roller coaster. Okay, so again, we have on one side denial, repression, we don't feel it. The other side is we really get enamored by the story and the insights about the story and figuring out what it means and figuring out where it came from and why this is happening to me. And then right in the middle is we feel it to heal it. We feel it, but we let it go. And how we do this is that we practice dissociating from the story about why we are upset in order to release the physical tension that is involved with the upset. So let me explain that better. So basically, something comes up, oh, this reminds me of my dad, or something like that. And then so that's going to be a story in our heads, right? And then we ask ourselves, well, where do I notice that in my body? Okay. And then I feel it and imagine as if the upset is like a physical tension. And if you let go of that physical tension, you will release the upset. You will release the suffering around it. What you're going to do is actually activate a part of your nervous system that enables this story to be recategorized in a different part of the brain. Because when you re-experience these things in a state where you are not upset, where you're no longer upset, and you feel actually like you're just feeling a sense of equanimity, even though you're still having this experience happening, you actually recategorize it in a part of the brain that enables it to be let go of. Not sure if that's coming together in enough time in the 5 minutes, and my 5 minutes are up. But again, ask questions if you don't understand what I'm talking about. I might have to do a part two on this one, but I'm just trying to go organic and live here and see what happens and see if I can get these important concepts in under 5 minutes. So for right now, just next time you're upset, take it down to the practical tool. Next time you're upset, ask yourself a strange question perhaps. Where do I notice it in my body? Okay? Then you scan into your body, you're going to feel the tension. Oh, I notice it here or here. And then you're going to then you breathe into it. Hold your breath. You can even tense a little bit. And then ask, am I willing to let it go? And then exhale. And then imagine it dissipating and imagine it leaving your body. And repeat. Soon you will not be upset. And this is actually the middle ground. You're feeling it and you're letting it go. You're not denying it. You're not overindulging in the story or the why. You're not getting stuck in that head stuff about it that will keep it actually strengthened and alive. You're feeling it to heal it, to let it go. Love you all. Have a great day.